Hello, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're running on the path to Mount Ember. But, I do want to, of course, again give the caveat about the next video. It will not be us in Mount Ember, as I have lost that footage. Unfortunately, I didn't save state before going into Mount Ember. The only save state I have is just before fighting Moltres, and it's kind of pointless if I don't show the path to Mount Ember and all that kind of stuff. So to let you know, I did catch a Machoke in there, and I did catch the Moltres, but I don't believe I have any of that footage that was corrupted left to show. Now, I do want to talk about that a little bit though, as though I can't show it to you, I can just tell you how super awesome it was. In fact, it was so super awesome because I crit hit and one-shotted everything. Trainer Pokemon, wild Pokemon, all that kind of stuff. No matter what, I knocked them out and left the trail of bodies behind me. It was an amazing feat of playing and all that kind of stuff. And it was so awesome. Because when I got up to Moltres literally asked me, to put it in a Pokeball. It basically volunteered to let itself be caught. And I didn't even have to fight him. Moltres just joined my team and was, so afraid of my awesome powers. That... God, I'm trying. That it just, joined me out of fear. It was an amazing thing. I haven't seen it before. I haven't seen it since. I suggest you go in there at like level 150 and you'll probably experience the same thing. It's a very cool addition to this game. Couldn't even keep a straight face in the first part of the story. Anyways, no, the truth is Mount Ember isn't too difficult. As I said, the only new Pokemon that you're going to be looking for there is going to be Machoke and Moltres. Moltres will be the last of the 3 legendary birds that you need to capture to finish the Triumvirate. Now, the trek to Mount Ember itself is wrought with trainers. There are quite a few trainers for what is technically a very small route. There is also a Tentacruel to be caught here as well, and that's about it for this path to Mount Ember itself on Blue Island. And the most difficult part of this is honestly Mount Ember itself, as there are a couple of little things that we'll talk about in a second on this path that make this path, for as many trainers as there are, very easy. Most of the trainers are very, not too difficult, as they will be in the mid to high 30s level-wise, and there's nothing a decent team needs to worry about. So you might want to take some potions and ethers with you to go into Mount Ember with, but you shouldn't need them on this route itself, as long as you're in the 40s, which is where most of my Pokemon are. Also on this path, we will be coming across the mandatory Hot Springs episode for any anime. Unfortunately, the Hot Springs are full of old people, so no unexpected sexy Pokemon time for anyone here. The Hot Springs are actually really nice. Like I said, it's full of the old timers and all that kind of stuff, but when you go into the Hot Spring, into the center of it, it will heal your Pokemon like you were at a Pokemon Center, which makes this route, like I said, very easy, even though there's a ton of trainers, and a good place to grind out levels if you need to get some extra levels in. And beyond that, the trainers we will be facing here are going to be composed of campers, martial artists, swimmers, and fishermen. The swimmers and fishermen make a lot of sense, as there is a bit of an ocean route here. You gotta catch Tentacruel, that means there's water somewhere. Fishermen, of course, are out on the ocean trying to catch that big one. And the swimmers are just out to either train or enjoy swimming in the ocean themselves. The campers make a lot of sense, as this is a somewhat off the beaten path area. and the campers kind of come across as more of a wilderness explorer than what most people think of as camping. Most people think, you go to a campsite, all that kind of stuff. These campers are people who go out into the wild and, live off the bounty of nature for a minute or two and camp that way. So it makes a lot of sense that you're going to find them in the high grasses and all that kind of stuff, investigating and learning more about the area around them. The martial artists are composed of both black belts and crusher girls. And the first one you're going to find is going to be a crusher girl that's kind of on a high rocky plateau that you need to take some serious forward training herself, with the ocean in the background. Very anime, very, very manga kind of thing, where someone is, going through hell training and they're doing it on some mountainside by the water, right? The other martial artists and such we're going to be finding will be at the beach before the hot spring. And that one doesn't make too much sense at first, right? Because why would they be at a beach? Why are they near a hot spring? It doesn't, why aren't they? Well, it's because, have you ever run on loose sand? It's tough. Now imagine that you're also now doing, martial arts training. You're sparring with other people, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a very, very tough and difficult thing to do. You're going to have to concentrate more on how you're moving. You're going to have to really pay attention to where you put your foot, because the sand will slide underneath you, and it takes a little more effort to move quick. You don't have as much push, so to say, because that's part of what slows you down when you're running on sand. It's not that it's just sand, it's that your foot sinks into it a little bit, so that you don't have the amount of push and friction that you normally would have to propel you forward. A lot of the force used ends up being dispersed by the moving sands. And so these martial artists and such make a lot of sense to be on this beach in this little bit of a rocky area. And then you think about the hot spring. Well, it makes sense for them to be there as well. When you're done doing a hard day's worth of training, or, say you're not a training athlete, like me, for instance. After a long day of being out in the sun and doing physical activities, though, one of the things you really want to do is you want to jump in that shower, take a nice hot shower, wash off the sweat, let your muscles relax a little bit. Well, what's even better than that? How about a hot spring? You got some extra minerals and stuff in the water to help you feel good, to help you rehydrate, and that hot water is going to feel good on your muscles. It's going to let you relax a little, So it makes sense that they'd be training in the sand by the hot spring. I honestly have to keep saying, the more I think about where these trainers are placed, the more I really enjoy the thought that was put into it. I'm not even going to talk about the Pokemon they use. I'm just talking about the trainers themselves. I've really enjoyed thinking a little bit more about how the trainers are being used and what they're representing and how, I love it. I'm really enjoying that kind of stuff in these games as I let myself really think about some of this stuff. Doing a little more introspective, maybe for myself even, on how I view and how I interact with games. It's been a lot of fun for me. Now, the thing I want to talk about is kind of twofold. Mostly it's Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and the Ultra Wormholes and all that kind of stuff, but I also want to talk a little bit about canonicity. What games go with which games and all that kind of stuff, and I truly believe that there is a canon timeline, so to speak, that goes from one game to the next and the next to the next, but which games go together and why? Well, for me, FireRed and Leaf Green are the first step. And I put them together because the story is pretty much the same with just different Pokemon available to catch. If they had a combined one, I would use it something like a Pokemon Yellow. I don't count Pokemon Let's Go. It's a fun game, but I don't count that in any timeline that's I'm talking about. So FireRed and Leaf Green tell the same story. That's your first game. Well, Pokemon Legends Arceus is going to be your first game. Then FireRed, Leaf Green. After that, you have Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Now, I would say Crystal normally, but I'm going to replace that with Heart Gold, Soul Silver, as they tell basically the same story with just some changes in the Pokemon that you can catch. And I think they're a very good update to the original games. They're a good remake, and so they slot into that spot for me, the second game. Third game is going to be Pokemon Ember. Now, in fact, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are some of my favorite Pokemon games. And as much as I wish I could put them in there for canonicity, Pokemon Emerald combines both Team Magma and Team Aqua into one game, and it does it in such a way that I think that would be your more canon level game. And then after that we have Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Shining Diamond, and Sparkling Pearl, or Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Platinum. First off, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are remasters. They're not new games. There's nothing really new added to them. Diamond and Pearl are separate games in some ways, with Platinum kind of combining both those games together and giving you a little bit of a new story and all that kind of stuff, and I choose that as my canon game. After Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, so now we have what? Pokemon Legends Arceus, FireRed, Leaf Green, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Emerald, Platinum, X and Y, or no, sorry, after that would be Black and Black 2. And the only reason why I picked those over White and White 2, even though they tell basically the same story, the main difference is that the worlds are a little different. One is more nature-oriented and one is more technologically oriented. And I picked the technological side. It's my own personal preference. And I just think, looking at the Pokemon worlds themselves, they're usually more technologically oriented than they are naturally oriented. And so I'm going to go with the more technological Black and Black 2. After that, we do now have X and Y. Those games basically tell the same story with just a little bit of difference in what Pokemon you can catch, and so I combine those two of them again because they don't have a combined form, so X and Y go in the next spot together. After that we have after that we have Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I usually go with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, even though they do tell somewhat different stories. They have somewhat different characters available. If I had to pick one, it would be Ultra Moon. I just like that game better. So Ultra Moon is my next canon game. And then finally we have Sword and Shield, which basically tell the same exact story, DLC and otherwise, just different Pokemon that you can catch, so I just slam those two games together. So that is my canon timeline. Part of why I choose it that way is, like I said, personal preferences, technological and all that kind of stuff, favorite games, combining the stories themselves, all that kind of stuff, right? And the reason why I kind of bring this up is in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you have the Ultra Wormholes, which give us a look at other dimensions and other realities of Pokemon. And it definitely calls into the idea that some of these games are just different realities that are very similar to what we consider a canon timeline, with slight changes. And it also gives us some really interesting what-if questions of, what if an evil team succeeds? What happens then? Or what if Pokemon aren't just friends, but they definitely become our foes? And a lot of that you see with something like one of the worlds you go to has a Guzzlord eating everything in the far background. And I often wonder how that occurred. I don't remember too much about that world other than the Guzzlord being there. Maybe I missed some stuff to investigate or whatever. But it's a scary what-if scenario for a Pokemon world, isn't it? What happens if a Pokemon who's super strong gets out of control? What happens then? So maybe in that reality, Guzzlord's considered a legendary Pokemon. He's, one of those top-tier, super strong Pokemon. And, an evil team, nothing, right? They want to cause the world to collapse, all this kind of stuff. They don't believe that humanity deserves to be there, and so they're trying to use this Pokemon that is said to devour anything in its path. And they want to use it to devour, the the world and put it back to start, right? Thinking that they can control it. What if they lose control and it destroys them as well as everything else? So now you have an apocalyptic scenario where this one Pokemon is now going through and devouring everything. He's eating the worlds, the cities, the people. It's an interesting thought. Like, what would happen if Cyrus had not only succeeded and the Pokemon got out of control, which kind of happens, but you weren't there to stop them for whatever reason. Say you went to Lake Acuity that they blew up and you got caught in the explosion. Boom, you're gone. And no one else has managed to stop Cyrax, and he unleashes Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, whoever he unleashes, right? And it goes on to distort the world in such a way that nothing survives. A lot of these legendary Pokemon very much have those abilities. And so I really do find it very interesting to see the what-if scenarios that Pokemon Ultra Wormholes present with them to us. Because I believe that you actually go to that world too, and there's no Guzzlord, it's just a destroyed world. Or maybe it's abandoned or something, I don't know. But, you know, it's the idea that one little change can destroy our perception of what Pokemon is about. Because generally, you know, when we play Pokemon, what's the overall story that we get? You're on an adventure. For the most part, some evil team is out to do XYZ. And while you're on your adventure, you confound them and you stop them and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, eventually you got to, from just wanting control of a city or the world or whatever, to changing the world with the power of a legendary Pokemon. With, you know, like Team Galactic and such, Team Aqua, Team Magma. And so, basically, the story stays the same. You know, you're a young guy or girl out on an adventure, and you get caught up in these events where you face off against some evil team who's out to do XYZ to the world through either criminal means, like Team Rocket, or through controlling a legendary Pokemon, like Team Aqua, Magma, Flare, Team Galactic, Team Plasma, so on and so forth. You stop them, and then you continue your adventure, learning lessons along the way, meeting people, grabbing badges, you beat the Elite Four, and then usually you have a little bit of post-game where you get to investigate the world a little further, learn some more of the history of the world. But that's about it. The only game that really switched that up was the Sword and Shield games, where you do, you know, end up saving the world, but before that happens, the adults are like, you're a kid, just continue your adventure. And so you get to just be on an adventure for a while until finally things go really bad when you're actually about to get your championship and things go bad, and now you are forced into the events that the adults were trying to get you to avoid being a part of. The same thing kind of occurs in Pokemon Legends Arceus. You know, you're just some young kid, you're out on an adventure. Even though your adventure is more or less cataloging, there's no gems, right? So you're cataloging things, and bad stuff starts to happen, and you investigate it, and you're forced to defend the world from, you know, devastation. So, like I said, the what-if scenarios presented by the Ultra Wormholes are definitely like, what if you weren't there? For whatever reason. The other cool thing about Ultra Wormholes is it ties directly into a lot of the other games. You have something like Ultra Wormholes in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which is why it's hard for me to not make them canon games, because they have some of the same stuff occurring, and that's how you catch special Pokemon there. You know, they appear on special islands, all that kind of stuff, some of the legendaries. Ultra Wormholes are basically hinted at to be what causes you to be a part of Pokemon Legends Arceus, transferring you from wherever you're at to the world you're in now, and it looks like you're probably the main protagonist from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Now, I think Pokemon Legends Arceus is on the canon timeline, but I don't think that the character you're using is the canon version of that character to that timeline. I think that Arceus takes a different version of that character from a different world who never went on his adventure. I think that the version that you get is a new guy, because he kind of knows what Pokemon are, but he doesn't seem to be too in the know, right? So he seems like a version of the character from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum who never really, or she never really, started their adventure just yet. So it's before they ended up on their Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum adventure. So it's a brand new character from a different dimension. Kind of like it's hinted at that Looker is in some of the games, that he's a different Looker than the one that we run into in some of the games. I don't know. Because Looker talks about how he went through an Ultra wormhole and ends up in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So I think it's interesting to ponder the idea that there's all these different Pokemon worlds out there, and there's one canon timeline, but some of the Pokemon characters that we run into are from different versions of that timeline, and as such, we haven't interacted with them as players yet, even though we know who they are. And it gives the possibility of opening up the game to new ideas and new stories that we can explore and ponder as we play these games. So it's kind of why I like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon being the canon version, because the wormholes play such a big role in that game, and there are so many little wormhole moments in other games that I think, though would be possible, wouldn't make as much sense if the wormholes weren't so prevalent in the main canon timeline in my head. And that's why, even though I was talking about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in some way, the main thing I think I ended up talking about was the canon timeline based around how I feel about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I quite like those games. I'm actually really liking X and Y too, though, as I said before, the pacing of the story kind of makes it so that I have trouble playing for long periods of time compared to Black and White 2. But that's about it. We've got about a minute or so left before the game is finished for today in this episode. It was a longer one. Thank you very much for hanging in there this long if you have. And if you had, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff, you know, if you haven't subscribed yet. If you have, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'm going to leave off here. Leave off for the last minute or so while we watch me get up into Mount Ember after getting my Tentacruel. And I'll see you guys later. So until Friday, be happy, be healthy, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.